Hi everybody, I'm Joaquin Castro and I proudly represent my hometown of San Antonio, Texas in the U.S. House of Representatives. And I'm in my 5th term and I serve among other committees on the Education and Labor Committee and also served in the Texas legislature for 10 years before this and served as vice chair of the Higher Education Committee for a few years. So this issue of college completion is one that's incredibly important to me for a few reasons. First, San Antonio is a town with many colleges and universities and thousands of students, some who are just out of high school, but many others who are coming back to college to complete their degrees. So thousands of people that are enrolled in our colleges and universities that are trying to finish off their degrees and graduate. And also, because over the years, as I worked on these higher education issues, I noticed something that for me was really quite disturbing, which is we focused a lot of our attention on opening the doors of higher education, of colleges and universities to communities over the years, and have done a pretty good job of that, or at least better than we had decades ago. But our focus on entry and opening those doors has not been met by a focus on making sure that once people enroll, they actually complete their degrees and they graduate and they're able to go on to their career dreams. In other words, they're able to go on to the career dreams that brought them to the college or the university in the first place. And so that's why I'm excited about the College Completion Fund, because it's finally an opportunity for the Biden administration working with Congress to appropriate resources and funds and a focus on that second piece, which is once you get people in the door, you make sure that you work with them, provide wraparound services for things like childcare, any mental health services, for orientation, helping to coach them along the way to make sure that not only can they start college, but they actually finish and graduate. The enormity of this challenge really can't be overstated. I have to say that in parts of Texas, and I know other states throughout the country, some of our community college graduation rates and completion rates, for example, are lower than our high school graduation rates. So oftentimes our colleges have been like sieves. There are a lot of folks that go in, but only a fraction or percentage, at some places 15%, that actually end up completing. So I see this College Completion Fund as an opportunity to do right by these folks who are earnestly trying to make it and finish their degrees, complete their degrees, but they face things like the work school tug of war. So many of our students are in this work school tug of war where they don't make enough money to where they're able to say, well, I'm just not going to go to college because I'm set for the rest of my life. So they're trying to improve their situation and get a degree and go on to their dream. But like I said, they don't have enough money. So they're having to work. They're working 10 hours, 20 hours, some of them trying to work full time. And ultimately what I've seen over the years is that too often work wins out. And people's dreams of becoming a nurse or a doctor or an engineer or whatever it may be, whatever their dream is, that dream ultimately gives way to the immediacy of having to put food on the table for themselves, oftentimes for their families, or helping out other families with costly things. And so this will help end the work school tug of war. It'll go a long way in ending the work school tug of war. I think it's also going to be helpful in making sure that we focus on best practices. I know that that's a term that's thrown around a lot in different policy discussions, best practices. But in this arena, it's especially important because as we were navigating the challenges of higher education in Texas, we found that oftentimes in some jurisdiction, whether it was El Paso or Houston or Dallas or the Rio Grande Valley or somewhere else, colleges and universities were doing many things right, but there were other areas where they were not. There were real gaps or holes or vulnerabilities in what they were doing, and some other part of the state was doing it right, but people were not talking to each other, and those best practices were not scaled up so that the entire state, all the community college systems, the university systems, benefited from those best practices. So this will be an opportunity to make sure that we follow best practices. And I'll give you one example on that. In Texas, we had big challenges with developmental education, or what used to be called remedial education. And you know that developmental education for many students is the graveyard of higher education. And so I see this as an opportunity for us to really focus on that and figure out what the best practices are for folks who need developmental education and developmental courses, and make sure that they don't give up because they're having problems getting through the developmental courses before they take credit courses later on. And so that's one of the challenges that I think that this can help take on, is working with the colleges and universities on scaling up and adopting best practices as well. So I'm really excited about it. I hope that you can tell this is an issue and an area that I've spent so many years working on, is getting students to college, but also getting them to graduate. And I know that for each of you, your work and your passion is equally matched with mine. So thank you for everything that you're doing. I'm going to be working really hard to make sure that we're successful in getting the College Completion Fund done. Take care, y'all.